All right, thank you, Jackie. Second here. Please give your attention to the short video. Colin, Jackie, if you could play the video, please. All right. Thank you for that. So now, Jackie, can you conduct the roll call, please?
Member Bonner. Member Boardman.
Present.
Member Foster.
Present.
Member Karimi. Member Keeshan. Member Olson.
Present.
Member Pinkham.
Thank the goddess I'm still here and above ground.
Thank you. Member Riley. Member Riker.
Present.
Member Simmons.
Present.
Member Weeks. Vice Chair Dugan.
Here.
And Chair Sarmiento.
Here.
Thank you. We have all members present except for members Bana, Member Karimi, Member Riley, and Member Weeks absent.
All right. Thank you. So next we'll move on to public comment. Jackie, have we received any public comment?
No written public comment received.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak during public comment on an item that is not part of the agenda? If so, please raise your hand and I or staff will call on you.
I'd like to speak on an item not on the agenda. However, I'll save it for the information sharing portion of the meeting.
All right. Thank
I
you.
did want to point out Member Weeks has arrived. Thank you.
I have arrived. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jackie. And yeah, Committee Member Olson will take your comment at informational items. All right, sorry, let me flip back screens here. All right, the next item on the agenda is the election of chair and vice chair for 2023, and I'm requesting any suggestions for chair and vice chair from the committee.
How do you feel, Robert? Would you like to continue?
I can continue, but yeah, that's totally fine with me. But if anybody else is interested in being chair, all for that as well.
Traditionally, the chair has been a staff member rather than a member of the public.
Well, I mean, I'm somewhat interested in it, but I just am very new. So, I mean, I almost feel like if there's a chance to study under Robert as vice, I'd be interested in that. But I'm relatively new to the committee, so I don't know if I would be a good leader to start right out of the gate.
And I am happy to pass off the vice chair duties. If Chris, if you're stepping up, I will say it's not a hard job, and it's probably not hard to do a better job than I have done. So you can have at it if the committee agrees.
Yeah, and if committee members, if you feel free to make a motion if you want, whatever you want for vice chair, chair, whether it's committee member Weeks for vice chair, me for chair, or somebody else. Yeah, feel free to discuss and make a motion.
Can make a motion. I'd be happy to make a motion that Robert Sarmiento continues as chair and that Chris Weeks becomes vice chair.
And I guess second from committee member Boardman. And I guess a quick question for Jackie or Colin is this something we have to make two separate motions, or can we do it all in one motion?
Well, if Riker just made the motion to make you chair and vice chair Weeks, if we can just get a second on that, we can
I'll
take
second.
Well, it had a second from committee member Boardman. So.
Oh, Boardman. I'm sorry. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Oh,
Sorry.
already, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I guess we can make the motion all in one.
Okay,
Make
so
one motion, I guess. So
motion
yeah.
from Riker for Chair Sarmiento to continue chairing for 2023 and vice chair to become Chris Weeks for 2023. Correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and then the second was from Boardman. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
So, Sean, I'll reach out to you to kind of get a lay of the land, I guess. If you would just give me 10 minutes for of your time, would be great. Just to get me.
Of course, I think I would like to suggest that Chair Sarmiento and Colin, you and I maybe sit down and have a meeting soon to discuss the next year. And I think that'd be helpful for everybody. That work for you, Colin?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And actually, just procedurally, Jackie, I think do we need to do a roll? I guess we do have to do a roll call vote, correct?
Correct. Thank you.
Sorry, Chris, you're 99% of the way there. Let's get official.
Wait, I'm changing my mind here.
Okay, member Bonna. Okay, member Foster.
Aye.
Member Boardman.
Okay.
Member Karimi. Member Keeshan. Member Olson.
Yes.
Member Pinkham.
Aye.
Member Riley. Member Riker.
Yes.
Member Simmons.
Aye.
Member Weeks.
Yes.
Vice Chair Dugan.
Aye.
Chair Sarmiento.
Yes.
Okay, so we have all members present, and that was Member Bonna, Member Keeshan, Member Karimi, and Member Riley absent, and the motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. So we'll move on to item 3A, which is, 4A, which is the consent calendar, which includes the summary of actions from the September 26, 2022 CBPAC meeting. Are there any changes or comments from the committee? If so, please raise your hand. All right, don't see any hands raised or anyone speaking up. Any comments from members of the public?
I've received no written public comment.
Okay, all right, thank you. With that, I need a motion and a second for this item.
A motion to approve the consent calendar.
All right, thank you. Have a motion from committee member Weeks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from committee member. Is it still Vice Chair Dugan? I guess maybe to the end of the meeting or no? Okay.
But
Committee
the
member
virtual
now.
gavel has been passed.
Okay, so I should revise to say Vice Chair Weeks first, a motion from Vice Chair Weeks and second from committee member Dugan. So Jackie, if you could conduct the roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Member Bonner? Member Foster?
Aye.
Member Boardman?
Same.
Member Karimi? Member Keeshan? Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Pinkham?
Aye.
Member Riley? Member Riker?
Yes.
Member Simmons?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Aye.
Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Bana, Keeshan, Riley, and Karimi absent.
All right, thank you. And next we'll move on to the regular agenda items. Item 5A is an update on MTC's OBAG 3 and local program nomination list and ATP Cycle 6 projects. This item is going to be presented by CCTA staff, Colin Clark. So Colin, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you. I will share screen. Can you confirm, Chair Sarmiento, that you can see the screen? Okay. So an update on OBAG 3 and ATB 6. So in September of 2022, CBPAC and DCC had already seen the recommendations for OBAG 3 for countywide for Contra Costa, and the authority board used those recommendations to support a program-wide, county-wide list of prioritized projects for consideration at the regional level at the 9-county Bay Area for MTC for their evaluation process. And if you recall, Contra Costa Transportation Authority and its review panel was made up of 6 members, roughly half from TCC, the Technical Coordinating Committee, and half from this CBPAC. And when it went to MTC, so the MTC only got about 25% of the score, and CCTA got about 75% of the score, which resulted in the list that was recommended to MTC. And I'm pulling up the resolution from September for reference to show in terms of the active. I'm mostly focused on the active transportation and safety projects, but there is the countywide smart signals project that does include each of the jurisdictions that have chosen to participate and provide a local match. There's also the countywide safe routes to school non-infrastructure program, in addition to the individual infrastructure projects below that on the right-hand side you see here. And on the left-hand side, you can see, to make it really simple. The funds nominated versus funds recommended. So Contra Costa performed well at the regional level, and roughly the top 10 or so projects were funded, and there's some recommendations from MTC that went to their Programming and Allocations Committee on January 11th, and then on January 25th, the full MTC Commission will be voting on considering approval of the final project list. So the Countywide Safe Routes to School program was recommended to be fully funded, in addition to the Smart Signals project. And then in terms of the active transportation and safety projects, you can see our #1 ranked project, Delta Dianza, which included Pittsburgh as the lead applicant, but also some co-applicants, joint applicants, other agencies as partners. That was fully funded. Galindo Street from Concord, Bayview to BART from the county, Pacifica Avenue from the county was actually funded through ATP 6, the Active Transportation Program. And so Pinole got a project through OBAG 3, Lafayette from OBAG 3, and this dollar amount from MTC is recommended at 3.4 million. From OBAG 3, Richmond, there's the McBride project, fully funded. Willow Pass Road from Concord, and San Pablo's Broadway Safe Routes to School, and Walnut Creek Safe Routes to School, that was recommended by MTC for 3.1 million. And so basically in terms of MTC and MTC's regional ATP 6 funding and the statewide ATP 6 funding and OBAG 3, all of the top ranked projects from Contra Costa did find funding from one source or another, and willing to take any questions and get into more detail if people want.
All right, thank you for that update. Colin, is there any committee members have any questions for Colin? Okay, committee member Pinkham?
Yes. And when this funding is finally awarded for these various projects that apparently have been accepted, do you have any rough idea when these projects will start getting built?
Yeah, so
Quite a bit different from one to the next.
right. So the Safe Routes to School, or sorry, the infrastructure projects, the federal fiscal years begins October 1st, and CCTA will be working with each of the local agency lead applicant agencies to get ready for requesting a TIP amendment. So Hisham's team as the director of programming and Stephanie's team as the director of projects will work with each of the local agencies to get ready for the amendment that goes to MTC probably in the April timeframe. And from a non-infrastructure standpoint, from programmatic standpoint, the Safe Routes to School program is likely to get access to funding beginning at the fiscal year of CCTA. So July 1st is what CCTA is aiming for. Is that helpful, Member Pinkham?
Well, I was wondering about some of the other projects. Of course, here I am in Richmond, and I was wondering about ours, or the one in our area, and especially the one in Pinole too. Any idea at all when those are gonna possibly happen, or?
Yep, I think each of the applications may have included the project schedule, but the federal fiscal year begins October 1st.
Oh, fiscal year, okay, all right, so sometime. So I can give maybe some happy news to the Richmond BPAC, that would be nice.
Definitely.
All right, any other questions or comments from community members for Colin? All right, community member Olson?
Yeah, hi. The number one project was the Delta de Anza Trail through the communities of Bay Point, Pittsburgh, and Antioch. It was upgrades. Alas, the city traffic engineer of Pittsburgh, who was the main writer of the application, has moved on. And so the city doesn't know, has not determined another city traffic engineer yet. So we're a tiny bit in limbo. So I guess what I'm doing is asking that Sean from the East Bay Regional Park District put a small amount of energy into nudging the city of Pittsburgh to do a good job on this project, especially since it was the number one project and was fully funded by this committee. And thank you. I see Sean nodding. Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee member comments or questions? All right, I do see.
I see member Prince. Do you see that, Robert?
Yeah, I do see. My apologies, Robert. I can't recall if you're a committee member or member of the public. So if I've taken you as a member of the public, my apologies. So yeah, go ahead and speak.
No worries, and thanks. I'm happy to comment in either capacity. But I just want to say congratulations and thank you to everybody for putting together these great applications. A lot of exciting news. We put together our own blog post for both Alameda and Contra Costa counties and totaled up all of the OBAG and ATP funding, as well as a few awards from the federal appropriations bill. And it came out to, I think, 230 million, give or take, for the East Bay altogether. So that's a huge deal, and we're really excited about it. And then, like Oli said, just making sure we get some of those staff vacancies filled, also now in Richmond too, in order to make sure we can actually deliver those projects. One of the questions I had is there was a few projects that got partial funding. I think it's via the OBAG round. Was there, is that seen as being a potential problem, or is there some backfill available already identified?
Which project specifically are you asking about?
Well, I think there were two that were listed in the OBAG awards as partial funding. I can look those up again. I think maybe one was the Walnut Creek Safe Routes to School upgrades, and there's one other one, but I can check again.
Yeah, so MTC staff and CCTA staff are coordinating to see what we can do to make sure that the Walnut Creek project gets as much funding as possible. So that is ongoing.
Okay. And lastly, the MTC board meeting on Wednesday, I think is going to be the final vote on this list of projects. So do you know if it would be at all helpful for advocates to weigh in at the MTC board meeting, or is the planning committee meeting that already voted on this list pretty solid?
I guess I don't know. I don't know how comfortable I feel giving that recommendation, but the program Programming and Allocations Committee from MTC did approve it on the 11th of January. So, you're welcome to submit written or verbal comments. I'm not aware of any kind of major changes coming up on the 25th, but who knows?
Yeah. The only project that seemed controversial was the Lafayette School Street item. And it looks like they have both funding from OBEG as well as the appropriations bill now. So it might be hard to turn that away.
They have funding recommended from one source, and so I think MTC's working out what it's going to do in terms of that situation. But I don't know how fully baked that is yet.
All right. I see Sean, our committee member Dugan's hand.
Thanks for being so formal. I just wanted to say that we had we've applied for a few different projects for ATP over cycles 5 and 6, I think. And then we're not successful in this cycle as well. But we did have. I highly recommend the debrief with MTC. That was really helpful. We met with Carl at MTC, and one thing that he mentioned was that there is going to be a smaller allocation of funds, less awards given in cycle 8, and so it's going to become even more competitive and difficult for projects that really don't fit the mold. And so I don't know if you have heard the same thing, Colin, or not, but I just wanted to throw that out there. It's already very difficult. And we're pretty frustrated with the program actually, but I just wanted to share that feedback that we received from MTC.
All right, thanks. Yeah, definitely keep that in mind for cycle 8. So, okay, any other questions or comments for Colin? All right, committee member Olson.
Yeah, this is not directed specifically at Colin, but at everybody on this committee. And that is statewide, we want to reduce the number of miles driven by automobiles. And yet statewide, as Sean just explained, it's getting even tighter to get money to build facilities that encourage bicycle riding. It's just an observation.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions or any final questions or comments before we move to the next item?
Hey, Colin, this is Chris from San Ramon. Just a quick question. As far as the countywide Safe Routes to Schools grant funds, has there a notification gone out to the applicants that they can expect funding in July, or is this should I pass this on to people here at the city and other people involved in it? Is there another path of notification that's going on right now?
I don't know, Member Riker, if you want to take this one, but I'm not aware of any kind of formal announcement other than this one yet. But as part of the TIP amendment and stuff, we did meet with Street Smarts, Diablo, 511, Contra Costa, San Ramon Valley, Safe Streets San Ramon Valley. So Darlene was representing that area. So yeah, feel free to spread the word in terms of that dollar amount. I suppose after the 25th, if and when it's approved.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if no other final questions or comments, we'll move on to the next item here, which is item B, which is an update from 501 Contra Costa on the Street Smarts Diablo Safe Routes to School and e-bike rebates program. This item will be presented by committee member Riker. So I'll turn it over to her. Kirsten.
Yes, good morning. I've been asked to share about both of these two programs. And so I believe I'll start by talking about the Safe Routes to School program. Everybody can see my screen? Yeah, okay, great. Well, just an introduction about Street Smarts Diablo. We are a non-infrastructure safe routes to school program. Hold on a second. There you go. That provides bike and pedestrian and driver safety education and encouragement in Central and East Contra Costa County. Our program started in 2012 and serves the cities of Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, Martinez, Concord, Clayton, Bay Point, Pittsburgh, Antioch, Oakley, Brentwood, Knightson, Discovery Bay, and Byron. I had that written down. And we're excited to announce that we've just started working with 3 new districts as well in Lafayette, Orinda, and Moraga. Our programs have strong community support from the districts, cities, and various local groups, and we've partnered with many groups on local initiatives. Our elementary school work is probably the heart of our program. We have 2 assemblies called Mr. Beeps and Heads Up. These are our very popular 30-minute safety assemblies. You can see here, this is Mr. Beeps, and we bring them on stage, and the kids and the schools just love these. We've been to every school in our region multiple times in all 9 districts. We sponsor international walk to school day activities, and we've done golden sneaker contests and things like that. Our middle school program focuses on walk and roll to school events. It's harder to get class time at middle schools, unlike elementary schools. So these events are done before school. We bring our blender bikes and we let the kids pedal to make blender slushies. We give away free helmets for students in needs. We outfit bikes with bike lights and bells. We offer safety quizzes, both online and on paper. And we ask the schools to read the safety information in those quizzes aloud over the announcements, so we can sneak in the education school-wide in that way. We often get leadership classes to help out and promote the events, which is great. And we often get district and city support at these events. I believe some of you on the call have been to some of our walk and roll events. Our high school program is less robust. As hard as it is to get class time at middle schools, it's impossible, at least for us so far at high schools, to get into class time. We've partnered with the CHP for several years, offering their Start Smart program, which is a teen driver safety program that happens at night where kids come with their parents. CHP does a great job talking about distracted driving, decision-making, etc. And Street Smarts Diablo gets in ahead of time and does a presentation about the importance of sharing the road with cyclists and pedestrians. We've also gone to schools, high schools, and done lunchtime blender events, walk and roll to school events. We do online safety quizzes for prizes. And again, we've worked with leadership and environmental clubs at high schools as well. We also have a helmet and bike rack program. We offer free helmets for students in need. We provide custom helmet fittings. We fund bike and scooter racks at schools, and we offer other small school site infrastructure improvements like new striping, access improvements to make it safer for kids who are arriving on foot or on bikes to get into campus. We've also sponsored unique school-based campaigns and initiatives. For example, we recently sponsored Pleasant Hill Elementary School walk and roll. Well, they have a program called Active for Me, which has been incredibly successful with great volunteers they have at the school. And we've sponsored this dynamic program that's really increasing the number of kids walking and biking to that school. We also participate in community-based events, often in partnership with other youth safety campaigns such as National Night Out, police open houses, community safety fairs, sheriff bike rodeos, and bike away giveaway. We have a website and a strong social media presence. We create public safety messaging for schools and cities to promote. We do back to school safety reminders and seasonal safety messages in English and Spanish. We provide free parking lot banners for schools and districts. And we have a new yard sign lunar program for communities here to post reminders to drivers to behave better. Oh, we offer resources, videos, at-home activities on our website. These include reading lists, activity sheets, art projects, parent and student interview activities for mapping and route planning, parent and student safety pledges, lesson plans and curriculum for teachers, carpooling and walking school bus info, and more. If you visit our website, you'll see a fun video here called The Melon Drop, which we filmed during COVID, and we feature in our assemblies. It's pretty cute. We also cross-promote 501 Contra Costa's youth-focused programs that promote alternative modes, such as our Pass to Class, which is a free bus pass program for 2 months in the beginning of the school year, our school pool carpool program, Summer Youth Pass, which is a discounted summer youth pass for 3 months, and our popular Summer Bike Challenge program for students, families, and individuals of all ages. If you'd like to see any of our events in person, you're welcome to check them out. Our events page is listed on our website, and you can see everywhere we're going and everywhere we've been during the school year. You can see we've been quite busy this recent school year, which is exciting because during COVID, all of our in-person stuff was canceled. So we're back in action. As Colin alluded to earlier, we do have some good news. CCTA did win that OBAG 3 funding that's going to pay for programs for the next 4 years countywide, starting with this next school year, 2023-24. And this is going to be a joint collaboration between Street Smarts Diablo, which is in Central and East Contra Costa County, and 2 other program providers, including San Ramon Valley Street Smarts, which serves the town of Danville and the city of San Ramon, as well as Contra Costa Health Services, which is going to provide programs in West Contra Costa County. So if you want to learn more about those other 2 programs, I've put their websites up here on the slides. And our 3 programs are going to be collaborating and kind of pulling best practices from each of our programs to be able to provide great services countywide. Let's see. Okay, well, I think that is it on this slideshow about Street Smarts Diablo. If anybody has any questions, I'd love to try and answer those.
Thanks. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to jump in.
Yeah, no worries. I was actually going to just be formal here and just ask. Yeah, thank you, committee member Riker. Any questions or comments from the committee members? And committee member Dugan. Sorry for interrupting you. So
no, it's fine. Procedure. Thanks, Kirsten. I have a quick question though. Did you experience cost savings during the pandemic when you kind of weren't doing a lot of these programs in person and things? And is that benefiting the programs now that you run?
Yeah, I mean, there was certainly cost savings in terms of staff not going to schools, and that, yeah, it hasn't really affected it. We still have money to continue on, and the OBAG 3 funding is going to make it that much easier. So yeah, we're in good shape.
all right, thank you, committee member Golier.
Hi, Kristen. You had mentioned that you're expanding into the La Miranda region, and I didn't see much in the presentation about that. Just wondering if you can provide a little more detail about the programming you are offering in La Miranda.
Yeah, we're going to be basically expanding all of the same programs that we've been doing since 2012 to all the schools in La Miranda. And in fact, we've already presented at Lafayette Elementary, and we have Burton Valley Elementary on the calendar for spring. I've done outreach to all of the other schools throughout those 3 cities and have not yet heard back from any of the other ones. Okay. But we typically outreach to schools at least 4 times a year.
Okay, and you're having trouble connecting with them?
Yeah, I've outreached to the parent groups who have been involved in the Lafayette Street Smart Parent Street Safety Group, And I think they're nudging some of the principals as well. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because I'm also doing outreach to the school district. So anyway, maybe we can coordinate later on that.
absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, committee member Foster.
Hi, Kirsten. Good morning. Thanks
Good
for the
morning.
presentation. Yeah, I just kind of had a thought when I was looking at some of the swag that was out there, and then and thanks to the pandemic, there's more cyclists. I drive around, I see more people, but at night I do see a lot more folks. No lights, no reflective, bands or stickers. I don't know what you have in your budget just to probably add a little bit more of the reflective items to give away, and then find a way to get into their hands, like maybe leave it over at City Hall, because a lot of the people I see too are kind of low income, so I know they can't afford maybe to put lights, but at least the reflective stickers would be at least I think would be a kind of a low budget cost.
Yeah, we do offer reflective stickers for helmets and bikes.
Mhm.
And we try to get kids to put those on during our events. And we do bring them to all of our public events. But you're right. Yeah, it's a big, dangerous problem.
Yeah, because we can't, we can tell people to wear bright colors at night, but that's not going to happen. And black seems to be a favorite color. So, it'd be just great at least to have a lot of reflective stickers, even just for the adults. Yeah, especially the low income folks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments for committee member Riker? All right, don't see any hands up, so thank you, Kristen, for that presentation. And we'll move on to item C, which is an update on the coordinated countywide safety action planning presented by.
Actually, Robert, if I can interrupt you.
Okay.
I hate to tell everybody, but me again. The other thing I was asked to present on is an update of our e-bike rebate program. So I have a second presentation queued up for that. So.
All right. And my apologies for jumping ahead here. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you do have that item as well. So.
Okay, unless you want to take a break and move on to something and come back, that's
no,
fine.
we could finish up your item. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so here's my new screen. So 511 Contra Costa, just to back up a little bit here, since I was just talking about street smarts, 511 Contra Costa is the countywide agency designed to promote and incentivize people to reduce their car trips by promoting transit, ride sharing, biking, and walking. And we launched the e-bike rebate program a few years ago in 2020 as a one-year pilot program. And it was very successful, so the program was renewed, and now it continues to run without a set end date. And originally, this program was limited to the number of rebates by jurisdiction based on funding allocations by region. But after the first year, that went away, and rebates are now just available countywide without limits by home city. Just to remind you, our standard rebate is still available to any adult resident of Contra Costa County, and that is for $150. And our low income rebate is still $300. And that low income threshold is based on 400% of the US poverty guideline. Last February, about a year ago, a second rebate program became available in Contra Costa through a grant from the California Energy Commission. And I also manage that program as well. Now that grant is called Charge Up Contra Costa and was secured by CCTA, with the majority of funds paying for EV charging infrastructure at multifamily housing in disadvantaged communities. But $50,000 of the grant was earmarked for 100 e-bike rebates of $500 each. Eligibility for the $500 rebates is more limited though. You have to have low income and you have to live in either Bay Point, Pittsburgh, Antioch, Richmond, San Pablo, or Concord's Monument Corridor. The Charge Up program has limited funding once that $50,000 is hit. The plan is that's going to be the end of that, and we're already at 75% of those rebates spent. Until the rebates go away for Charge Up, 501 Contra Costa is advertising all 3 rebate options. And since I manage both programs, I direct people into the best rebate based on their income and home city. Now for both programs, all types of e-bikes are allowed, class 1, 2, and 3, and e-bike conversion kits. We recommend shopping at local bike shops, but people can and do purchase their e-bikes from anywhere as long as they can provide a full receipt that shows the make and model, its price, the date of purchase, and that sales tax were paid. E-scooters and e-skateboards do not qualify. Now between the 2 programs, as of today, we've officially hit 1,000 rebates, which is exciting. We've given out 919 through the 511 Contra Costa program and 81 rebates through Charge Up. If you're fast at math, you'll see these numbers don't add up because I just added 1,000 today, and these numbers were made back in December. Here you can see the home cities of where our participants are coming from, and you can see that Walnut Creek, Richmond, San Ramon, Brentwood, and Concord are leading the pack. This slide shows a snapshot of just the 501 Contra Costa rebates. But if you add in the Charge Up rebates, which are only available for people with low income, the percentage goes up to about 30% of all rebates going to low income individuals. Now we've tried promoting this program widely through our social media, our newsletter, and at our various events. We've asked cities to help us promote it. Bike shops are telling their customers about it. However, when we ask people how they heard about the program, it turns out that word of mouth advertising is having the biggest impact by far. Just a little bit about the data we're collecting. E-bikes, of course, range in price, and we've seen lots of applications for low-priced models, which isn't surprising because a lot of people are new to e-biking, so it makes sense that they would jump in with a lower-cost bike. One change we did make after the pilot year was to remove the maximum sales price for eligibility, which originally was set at $5,000. So now there's no upper or lower limit for how much a bike can cost. Next, we'll look at a little demographic data of our participants. Here, for example, you can see that most people are middle-aged and quite a few older adults are participating. More men than women have applied. Participants' race is somewhat disproportionate to countywide demographics. You can see whites and Asians are more represented in this program than the county as a whole. Participants are more highly educated than the county at large. 68% have a bachelor's degree or higher. And most are employed full-time or retired. And finally, most of our participants appear to be on the wealthier side, as the median household income in Contra Costa is only about $103,000 per year. So next, we'll look at a little bit of actual user data. Everyone in a program receives surveys 2 months and 12 months after receiving their rebate. And we have an incredibly high response rate of 83% 2 months after they get their rebate, and a lower but still impressive 51% response rate after 12 months. So in contrast, a typically good survey response rate is anywhere from 5 to 30%. So our data, just in the response rate, tells us that people are super excited about their e-bikes and satisfied with their experience with 501 Contra Costa. So we'll start by looking at how often people report that they're riding. Now, you can see down here, the green is the 12-month survey and blue is 2-month survey. There's a slight drop in frequency of riding over the course of a year, but 77% are still riding 1 to 7 days per week a year after they get their rebate. We also ask how often people are using their e-bikes as a replacement for driving, as that's the mission for 501 Contra Costa. And as you can see here in blue, folks are obviously a little bit more gung-ho in the beginning, But while the frequency of taking the e-bike instead of the car drops after a year, 32% of people are still routinely using their bike in place of a car once or more every week. Now, I've been working at 501 Contra Costa for over 10 years, and I can tell you that it's very, very hard to get people to switch from driving to any other type of mode, including the bus, BART, carpooling, or riding a regular bike. So while 32% doesn't sound that great, it is. There's some debate in the world of transportation about the value of funding e-bike rebates. Our local air district, for example, will not allow us to spend our trip reduction incentive dollars on it. This graphic, however, shows that e-bikes are more likely to be used than transit as an alternative to driving, at least here in Contra Costa County, where it's suburban. Some people argue that since e-bikes provide recreation, they may not be worthy of transportation funding. And I'd argue, however, that gas guzzling cars are also used for unnecessary recreational trips, and we all know how much money goes towards supporting private vehicle ownership. So rebates for electric vehicles have wide support, but EVs, though they're great for the environment by themselves, they don't reduce traffic congestion, and certainly not everyone can afford that type of electric mobility. And frankly, we think the fun factor is the main selling point. At 501 Contra Costa, we believe and have developed several programs around the idea that people need to enjoy the experience if they're going to commit to choosing a greener commute. So the fact that e-bikes are fun and provide exercise and recreation in addition to transportation only makes it more likely for their use to become habit forming and long-term. Now, we originally hoped to get actual odometer data so we'd know exactly how far people were biking. But it turns out that odometers don't come standard on e-bikes, and not everyone can report actual mileage. So this graphic is showing how far people tell us they're biking, and trip distances appear to be nearly identical from 2 months to 12 months after people get their bikes. If anything, people may be riding slightly longer distances after having the bike for over a year. We ask about what types of trips people are using their e-bikes for, and it's no surprise that at least half of all e-bike trips are purely recreational or for the purpose of exercise only. The data on this slide and the next shows a snapshot of where people are going on their most recent ride. So while 52% said that their last ride was just for fun, e-bikes are not being used just for fun and games. When asked after 2 months to indicate which destinations they'd ever ridden to on their e-bike, only 15% said that they'd only ever used it for pleasure rides without purposely going to a certain destination. In other words, most folks are using their e-bikes for transportation about half the time, which for us is the whole point, because we all know that most people get most places most of the time by driving a car. We ask here how often people biked before buying an e-bike. And seen here in yellow at the top, you can see that 54% of participants are new to biking when they get their e-bike. Over half the people said they only ever used to ride their bike, traditional non-electric bike, once a month, rarely or never. And those 54% who didn't ride regularly, you can see here on this chart, we've only calculated the people who were never riding bikes before. You can see that 74% of them are now biking at least once a week, and over half are biking several days a week or daily, which is pretty awesome. We designed this program with the intention of creating a fleet of e-bike ambassadors who would be out there selling the mode choice, telling everyone they know how great e-biking is, bragging about their cash rebate, and convincing others to try it as well. So we asked people on the application or on the survey, I guess, have any of the following people asked you about your e-bike? And you can see hardly anyone has not been asked about it at all. Sure enough, 54% have said that they definitely influenced someone else to purchase an e-bike, and another 25% think they have. So word of mouth advertising plus fast money in the mailbox is proving to be a great way to get more Contra Costa residents on e-bikes. And on a personal note, just back in December, I was doing some work for Street Smart's Diablo, wearing my Street Smart shirt, and I was out of school, and I met a parent in Pleasant Hill who's trying to start a bike campaign at his school, and he has an e-bike with a child carrier, goes back and forth every day to school. So I just asked, oh, how do you like your e-bike? And, you know, it was like lighting a match. He was so excited about it. He said how great, you know, how much his daughter loves riding in it. He told all his friends about it, and he told them how great it was and how easy it was to get an e-bike rebate. And I was wearing my Street Smart shirt. He had no idea I worked for 501 or that I ran the program. So it was pretty cool to hear that kind of a testimonial just out of the blue like that. So besides all the happy stuff, we also ask about barriers to riding more often. And this data here is taken from our 1-year survey. So the green categories indicate barriers that could be addressed through the built environment, including fear of traffic collisions, bike parking concerns, insufficient bike lanes, and vandalism or theft. So if people aren't using their e-bikes, most of them are going to use their car instead. So figuring out the solutions to those barriers is key. Bike parking is a big issue. People are super worried about their expensive e-bikes getting stolen. We ask people how comfortable they feel using bike racks in their communities, and only 35% feel somewhat or very comfortable using a standard bike rack. A lot more people, 66%, feel somewhat to very comfortable using e-lockers. Here you can see the reactions side by side. The blue represents standard bike racks, while the green is e-lockers. And keep in mind, e-lockers are more expensive to install. They take up a lot more space and require electricity, but people would perhaps use them more often. In our 1-year follow-up survey, we asked people how they feel about those Bike Keep high security bike stands that you can find at BART. And 70% of people said they'd be likely or very likely to use this type of rack. These racks are also much more expensive and require electricity as well. And to be fair, we did phrase it as high security bike stands in our survey, which is how they're marketed. So there's that. Whoops. And after 1 year, we asked people if they have ever used a traditional bike rack for an extended period of time, leaving their bike out of sight. And you can see that 62% said no. So this is a pretty big negative. Basically, the data is telling us that if we want people to start biking more often, we need to invest in better bike parking infrastructure. A lot of the comments we get are about the need for better bike parking options because people are very freaked out about their bikes getting stolen. We have a ton of great comments, helpful and interesting comments from people in our surveys. We get a ton of positive comments about people's joy of returning to biking after years and years away from it, about people being able to bike despite various personal health and physical limitations. People are excited about being able to go up hills and ride in their own neighborhoods and go further distances. People express joy at being able to share a new pastime with their spouse. People are loving the social and fun nature of e-biking. And lots of people said the rebate for improved affordability was a deciding factor in their purchase. On the negative side, we're hearing, as I say, a lot of comments about the need for more bike parking, obvious to this group, more protected bike lanes, safer streets, and more bike paths. We have a lot of user data available by city, and we'd be happy to share it with any interested party. So that's going to wrap this presentation up. We're proud to have this program. Not many other jurisdictions do. And we hope all of you will continue to help us promote it in your communities. So I'm going to stop sharing, and if anybody has any questions about that presentation, I'd be happy to take those as well.
All right. Thank you, Committee Member Riker. I see Committee Member Pinkham's hand, so I'll go with him first. Bill?
Thank you. As I'm sure you all have seen, there are many more e-bikes and more every day on the street. I was wondering if the rebate program was beginning to feel the pinch for the number of people that have been asking for it. I mean, I was happy to get my $150. I was going to lie and say I had made a lot less money, but no, I didn't. Anyway, So actually I have two questions. That's the first one. How's the funding going? And second is my friends in Marin especially talk about how many e-bikes parents are selling their buying for their little kids. Have you seen a lot of that or asking for rebates for young kids? I'm kind of worried about that because little kids, like to go fast and all that. So, but anyway, do you have any idea about that also?
Yeah, the first part of your question is the funding is stable and projected to be on course indefinitely for the 511 Contra Costa rebate.
Great.
So that's not going anywhere. As I say, the charge up $500 rebates are likely going to be done within the next 6 months or so. As far as the youth on e-bikes, yeah, that is starting to be a problem. People are putting out all kinds of education for youth on e-bikes. Our program specifically is limited to people 18 years and older. And I've said all e-bikes are allowed. However, e-bikes specifically marketed to children are not. So, we're trying not to fund kids.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I mean, I think we all, when we started riding bikes, it wasn't an electric bike and it just would have been a lot more dangerous. And they're heavier, of course, too. So, well, I'm glad to hear that you're doing what you can as far as that goes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Committee member Weeks.
Hi, thank you for giving me a second. Love this program. It's awesome. But one thing is that it's kind of Bill's question leads to, and I wanted to bring up just briefly, is the Street Mart San Ramon Valley has been asked by my department and also other people to include something in their curriculum about e-scooters and e-bikes in our area. And I just wanted to urge you as we move forward, maybe touch base with our team here. Do your best to include information for kids on this stuff, because despite us not funding rebates for children getting these vehicles, they definitely are buying them. The parents are buying them for them. And a lot of them aren't wearing helmets and don't know where to ride on the road and maybe have not gone through our traditional Street Smarts programs, or just ignoring them and don't realize that there might be a little bit different rules for a e-scooter or e-bike versus a regular bicycle. So adding some information on that would be something that we really want to do in our area, and it'd be great if we could have it spread throughout the entire region, because we have some local characters, kids who have gotten their hands on e-bikes that are completely throttle oriented and are tearing around parks, doing jumps and having a great time like kids do. So be great to have some discussion of it, and especially in how to act in crosswalks and things like that, and in bike lanes when you're on these. So we'd love to work with you on that, and would love to spread it throughout the region too.
Yeah, agreed. And that Marin Safe Routes to School program does have a good resource, which they've offered to share. So I think we can do that. And I think education, especially for kids and adults on the East Bay Regional Parks trails, the multi-use trails, is important with the speeding.
Amen. Okay, thank you. That was my question, I guess. Comment.
All right, thank you. Next, committee member Foster. Actually, you're muted.
Just listening to Bill's comment about children, I wonder if there's any consideration or thoughts about prioritizing children with disabilities for the e-bikes. So again, that's just my thoughts.
All right, thank you. Any other committee member comments before I move to the public? All right, committee member Olson.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Kirsten, for your great report. Have you thought about rebate programs for parking racks at stores? I use my bicycle for transportation. I have no car. I'd have to say that less than 5% of my destinations have any kind of a bike rack, security bike rack, or a bike cage security notwithstanding. So if you could just, if the requirement of electricity for a secure bike rack is a big stopping point for any store that wants to add just one or two U-shaped bike racks in front of their store. So I would suggest recommend just go for 2 spots in front of every store, like particularly Home Depot.
Yeah.
I read that comment on the page there, and that would be good. That's my first comment. My second comment, I would have to agree with your organization saying the more the better, and I have to disagree with my esteemed colleague, Mr. Weeks, about kids racing around and jumping and being kids. That's fine. I would say, without regard to following any rules, the more bicycles or bicycle-looking objects like electric bikes that we see on the road, the more the motorists are going to be aware of these bicycles, especially if the kid or the adult riding the bike is not following the rules, because 99.99% of motorists don't want to have a crash, especially where they see the blood of the person they run into in front of their car. So yeah, more bikes without regard to the rules. And finally, a discussion point for those on this committee: what do we call a non-electric bike? We call e-bikes or electric bikes. I've heard them called acoustic bikes, and I've heard them called analog bikes. And I'd like to hear what other members of this committee call non-electric bikes. And I don't like the term non-electric. That seems to emphasize that electric is good and non-electric is bad. And the exercise that I get, I think, is from riding, and I call them an analog bike.
I'd say we call them oldie bikes.
Thanks, Bill. No, I want a bridge named after me. I don't need a bicycle named after me. But okay, I'll shut up. Thank you very much for putting up with me.
We usually call them traditional bikes.
Traditional, okay.
All right, next we have Community Member Boardman. And you're muted.
Thanks. That was a great presentation. I really appreciate all the data, and those surveys really provide some substantial insight, which, yeah, super, super helpful. I think a question, maybe this is an ask more for CCTA, is what kind of support can local agencies get in, bike parking infrastructure? Because I think that was a key piece that was pointed out, not just secure, but also, looking forward a little bit, is would there be potential for on-site charging of electric bikes? We're talking about EV charging, but can we support that as well? And so, what are we looking to do kind of more holistically countywide that would help, that could help the cities and county look into, even just procurement, figuring out what types of, and I know you called out a specific vendor that provides bike racks for BART, but what kind of help can CCTA provide on that front?
Colin?
So I thought where you were going with that was the micromobility regulations and the policy framework countywide, as opposed to piecemeal 20 jurisdictions. But if you're referring to procurement, we might need to have a meeting offline and talk a little bit more details.
I think it's more like, similar to how we did do like an RFP, RFQ for micromobility, finding even with the secure bike racks that we have right now, that is a specific vendor that we, lease from. For example, we have a couple of those in front of City Hall in Walnut Creek, but it would just be interesting to see if there's kind of more of a united front on how we can do purchasing like with multiple agencies just to bring those costs down, because we know that there is that interest or that demand, and it's not going to take putting 2 secure bike lockers in front of one location in downtown to get people to feel comfortable. You're going to need to provide more than that if we're trying to get more people on e-bikes.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding or hearing what you want me to hear. Are we talking about parking and the electrification of municipal fleets in terms of e-bikes?
No, not the municipal fleets. Don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll do that on our. That's fine. More like for the just public use.
I know the Air District for a while had a vendor list with negotiated reduced rates for various racks. And I think, I'm not sure if they still maintain that list, but I think if Contra Costa as a county was interested in that, 501 Contra Costa could help organize it. We have limited funds for, occasional one-off racks, but we don't have, the funding to supply, the county with all the bike racks that they need. But I think the cities have to decide that they want to prioritize having secure bike parking in their retail and downtown areas. I mean, the surveys, people want them at grocery stores and they want them downtown. And it's very specific about that. People are really wanted at grocery stores and downtowns. It's overwhelmingly. If the city's going to put in racks, but they're, way far away, people aren't going to feel comfortable leaving their bikes there, whatever kind of bike, traditional or e-bike. There was a discussion, I don't know how long ago, a long time ago, with somebody from the city of Walnut Creek who was talking about making bike garden parking, like corrals that were comfortable and nice, and maybe it had charging, maybe it didn't, but I think the cities have to get a little bit serious about wanting to do it.
All right, next, I see Committee Member Pinkham.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that with all the infrastructure being built to charge electric cars, I wonder if there's some way we can feed off that to a certain extent. It's a pretty major electrical installation, and probably could figure, like with one less charger, you could probably have enough juice to feed electric bikes. And there's a lot of issues here. One, of course, is the obvious security issue. I don't know if this is all for the future. It's just some ideas thrown out. If you had the bicycle cages protected and then you hooked up in there, that would, I think, make people feel a lot better. Or most e-bikes have a removable battery. And so maybe, be a much smaller arrangement. Maybe you could, have some kind of, like the Amazon lockers, what do you call them? Amazon hub lockers that, you could charge individual ones away from your bike. Of course, it makes the bike a lot less valuable to steal, and you could still lock it up as you would conventionally. So anyway, just a couple of ideas that might kick around.
All right, any other committee member comments, questions? All right, Committee Member Weeks. And before you speak, Committee Member Weeks, Robert Prince, yeah, I'll get to you, just trying to get through the committee member comments before public comments. So thanks for your patience.
Yeah, sorry, I saw Robert's hand up, but I just wanted to add something really quickly to comments earlier from Walnut Creek. I just wanted to check in on the e-locker cost effectiveness calculations, because we've had problems in the past justifying through the cost effectiveness calculations the e-locker installs versus standard locker installs. And this is just something I ask about every year to see whether there's been an assessment of the cost effectiveness of e-lockers over standard lockers at our transit centers and things like that. Because the last several times I've tried to use those funds for e-lockers, they don't perform as well as they should. When you can serve 10 times as many people with an e-locker that you can with a standard locker, it seems like you should get more bang for your buck. So I think that there's countywide and Air District might want to look at that calculation and see if there's a way we can give a little more credit to a shared use locker facility that could be a little bit more expensive or a lot more expensive. But obviously from the survey data, you can see it'd be a lot more popular. So just wanted to add to that. Thanks.
All right. Many hands up here. We'll go with community member Olson first, and then Colin Clark. Go ahead. You're muted, Oli.
Thank you. I apologize for jumping in front of Mr. Prinz. He always has good ideas to speak about, but I would like to point out that these bike lockers, be they regular lockers or e-lockers, are triangular shaped, right? The locker is a 2-bike locker and it's got a divider diagonally across the rectangle. So if you have a bicycle that has back baskets or a back child carrier, it won't fit in this locker.
All right, thank you. Next, I'll go to Colin.
I'll defer to Mr. Prinz if that's okay, Chair Sarmiento.
Okay.
And I'll go after him.
Okay. I think unless any committee members have any final comments, I'll open up this item to the public, and I'll go with Robert Prince from Bike East Bay. Thank you for your patience.
No worries. As bike advocates, we learn to be patient. So thanks so much, Kirsten, for that great report. It's really, I've been, on our Bike East Bay side, trying to re-promote this program through all our channels as well, and just been really gratified to see, how much response you've been getting, especially as other regions are developing their own e-bike programs. The data that you're able to provide here is super valuable in helping, to get ahead of some of those problems and make even more success region-wide, not only in Contra Costa. So thanks for being the pioneer here, the guinea pig, so to speak. I just want to throw it out there really quickly too, with regards to some of like the long-term e-bike parking needs. We've been keeping track of long-term bike storage updates, ordinance updates around the country. And right now I feel like Portland's is the best. Anyone who is an individual city they're working with on long-term bike parking ordinance updates, if you want to get in touch with Bike East Bay, we've got a lot of really great ideas. Portland, for instance, sets aside a required percentage of spots for that will be accessible, with e-bike charging, as well as a certain percentage of spots, sized for cargo bikes. These are the things that we'd like to see incorporated into, new developments everywhere across the East Bay, including Contra Costa. So if you want more info, get in touch. I'd love to talk with you about that. And then separately, Kirsten, I noticed like there was a higher percentage of lower cost e-bikes in this program, which is great. We want to see people, having access to e-bikes in any way they can. But we also know that some of the lower cost e-bikes over time, the most expensive component, which is the battery, wears out faster. And that replacement cost for the batteries is sometimes way beyond what people can handle. I think like Rad Power Bikes had a bike that they were selling for like $500, but the replacement cost for the battery itself was $500. And the lower cost e-bikes sometimes either don't have replaceable batteries or they are very difficult to replace. So especially for the low income subsidized program, I'm curious if there might be an opportunity to also at some point bake in battery replacement costs for people and also routine maintenance costs, so that individuals who are already income limited are expected to bear those costs, and then you can kind of get more out of those bikes, as they continue to age, and have few of them end up in landfills. And then I'll let you respond to that, but I also wanted to add that the overall numbers for the program is great. Obviously, there are some concerns around some of the demographic disparities in the outcomes. You showed some really good data from people about barriers to biking who did participate in the program. And I'm also curious to know if there's been any attempt at information gathering from the people who weren't able to participate in the program to find out what the barriers to them were for being able to participate. And that might help to inform, some future changes to be able to meet the needs, more needs proactively and even out some of those demographic disparities. But thanks again.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Go next to Colin.
Thank you. Just wanted to mention that the Bike Link software that people may be familiar with in a kind of limited digital capability operations in terms of the e-lockers, that is transitioning to a mobile app on people's phones. So I think as that message gets sent out through all kinds of different amplification methods, it might help in terms of the usability of those lockers, and all of the input we're taking notes on. It's all really good input. We have talked about secure bike parking as an issue, and as we get together to chat about kind of work plan priorities and that kind of thing, we can chat about where that fits into the overall picture. And from personal experience too, I can speak to how the lack of attention to cargo bicycles of many different kinds, whether it's Costco friendly or family friendly, it's not yet being addressed, especially in terms of existing retail. So if that's something that this group wants to tackle, we certainly could.
Okay. Thanks, Colin. Any response to Colin, or any other questions or comments for community member Riker on this item? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Kirsten, for the presentation on the e-bike. And we will move on to item C, which is an update on the coordinated countywide safety action planning, which is going to be presented by Colin.
So just a quick update on the countywide safety action planning effort. So CCTA has successfully stood up a consultant bench for on-call for the next few years. And there's some funding that is becoming available to be able to do a countywide plan that leverages the new tool from MTC that'll help, in addition to other things, quantify some of the economic costs to society at a local level in terms of collisions, and some information that might help make an economic case for eliminating fatalities and severe injuries. And so there's a task order in the works, and I've talked with a number of different jurisdictions as to what items they'd prefer to be included in the scope. and to discuss local match dollars and other priorities and other logistics in terms of how the countywide plan will essentially integrate existing adopted local road safety plans as part of an appendix so that it's ready to be adopted by each jurisdiction and led by each local jurisdiction in terms of development. And so in some cases, jurisdictions are providing the local road safety plan in its original, Microsoft Word or whatever format to enable it to be a little bit more efficient in terms of integrating the update. However, if specific jurisdictions have a preference to basically do an addendum to the existing local road safety plan, that is an alternative method that we can discuss for specific organizations. So please do reach out and let me know if that's the preference. There are some jurisdictions that have not yet given an update on this, so happy to speak with them when ready. But I also know that there's quite a bit of staffing turnover that has been happening, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you for that update, Colin. Any committee member questions or comments on for Colin on this item? All right, seeing none. Any members of the public? Okay, thank you, Colin. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item D, other business / information sharing. Is there anything that the community members or staff would like to share? If so, please raise your hand. All right, committee member Olson.
Yeah, thank you. This has to do with a Costco application to build a new 540,000 square foot warehouse superstore in the northwest corner of Brentwood. This is at the base of our, I'm saying our advisedly, bicycle and pedestrian bridge over Highway 4, and it's our bicycle and pedestrian bridge because CCTA is paying for it $13.7 million. The city of Brentwood wants this store to locate in the city of Brentwood, so my estimation is they are not going to request any significant mitigations. One of the mitigations that they could request would be bicycle parking near the front door of their store, particularly lockers that fit cargo bikes, particularly e-bike charging stations that also accept scooters and other electric assist devices. That would be a wonderful thing. Could I request that any member of this committee or anybody send an email to the planning director of the city of Brentwood requesting this mitigation? I have listed a dozen mitigations that are needed in the vicinity of the store, not only in Brentwood, but also in Antioch and Oakley, to make it safer for bicyclists and pedestrians. I would point out that BART has their next expansion station in the median of the freeway right in the middle of our bridge. And the city of Brentwood and Transplan plans to build a big parking lot on the east side of our bridge. Okay, the Costco is on the west side. And Tri-Delta Transit, when this parking lot gets built, is going to bring 15-minute headway bus service from downtown Brentwood to this parking lot to the Antioch E-BART station until this next expansion E-BART station gets built. So this is a very important project in the vicinity of our bridge. And if we don't, I hesitate to use the term nail, but if we don't nail down mitigations from this gigantic 10,000 car per day expansion of motor vehicle trips because of this store, now when it's happening, we're going to have to fund all these improvements ourselves rather than getting the creator of the 10,000 cars per day increase in the vicinity of our bridge to pay for it. Okay, I'll end my rant there. Thanks very much for putting up with me. Please join in the encouragement of the city of Brentwood to require some reasonable mitigations from this new gigantic superstore near our bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Olson. Next, Committee Member Pinkham.
Yeah, Ollie, I think that's a good idea, and I wish you'd send around the link to whoever it is at Costco that or the builders that we can write to. And I will say that there's a Costco near me on Central Avenue in Richmond, and yeah, there's a couple of little bike racks there. I will not leave my bike there. It just does not feel secure with huge numbers of people that come through. Even though you would think it'd be noticed, no, it doesn't happen. Cars get stolen out of the lot and so on. While people in the store, there's so many people. So if you please send that around, I'll be happy to send my letter.
All right, thank you, Committee Member Pinkham.
Could I
Go
reply
ahead.
to that? Thank you, Bill, for your suggestion. If I could have the chair and or other members of this committee weigh in on, could I send everybody on this committee the link?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
I think that should be fine. I think if you could send it to both Colin and Jackie and me, and I think we could, from there, CCTA staff could distribute it to the rest of the CBPAC members. And Oli, I was also going to mention too, as transplant staff, sometime during the entitlement process, I'll take a look as well. And if I have any, as a transplant staff, I have any comments, I could submit that as well. So, and it could potentially include, comments on bicycle and pedestrian facilities and parking at that Costco.
Thank you.
And next, Committee Member Riker.
Yeah, I would just say it's kind of nice that they're building a Costco out there just for jobs. So there's fewer people, going out with the tide to the rest of the county, driving to work. And I think getting places like that to pay for bike parking is excellent. Yes, they should do that. However, I would say it might be more effective to ask Costco to pay into a fund for bike parking rather than spending a bunch of money for bike parking at Costco, where people take their huge SUVs to load up their huge boxes and, enormous supplies of things that aren't going to fit on most people's bikes. So it'd be great if they would pay for bike parking that could be set up, at a small market or at parks or something in Brentwood, at other locations where people are more likely to bike. That's my 2 cents.
All right. Thank you, Committee Member Riker. All right. Oli or Committee Member Olson, I have a response to that.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. I'll put that into my mitigation list. And I would like to point out that our bridge is part of a regional trail that leads not only to the new BART station, but also to Antioch and Pittsburgh, also to Brentwood and Oakley. And having this Costco have bike parking connects directly to this trail network that is also good. But I think your idea about a mitigation fund for parking is excellent. Also, I'll throw that in. I hesitate to use the term nail, but we want to nail down funding with this third largest retailer in the United States. They got plenty of money. All of my requested mitigations are going to cost a couple of hours of their profits.
All right. Any other item or any other comments on this item? Any other business or information sharing? Please raise your hand or speak up. Okay. Committee Member Foster.
Hi, this is just a response to Oli here. Let's hope Costco is also selling bikes. Just kind of help, promote more biking in the area.
I'll put that in my list also. Thank you.
Oh, they are selling bikes. There's a $500, no, there's a $330 e-bike that people have bought a lot of in our rebate programs. Almost like a scooter, but it does have pedals. So they are.
All right. Any other comments or any other business sharing? All right, seeing no hands, we'll move on to item E, which is upcoming subjects for discussion. Do any committee members have any suggestions for items to discuss at the March meeting? All right, Committee Member Boardman.
Yeah, could we get an update on the deployment of micromobility in the county? And
I'll turn that question over to Colin.
And inclusive of not just the pilot cities, but any other cities that may have participated in any micromobility at all. So this could be West County as well, or Pleasant Hill.
Sounds good.
And I wouldn't mind hearing an update regarding micromobility, if there's any update on the East Bay Regional Parks trails.
And I'm happy to give an update on City of San Ramon's pilot that is launched and running as we speak. So please include me.
And also like to add, if you have any updates on if CCTA is developing a countywide, was it a micromobility ordinance or agreement template that the jurisdictions may source from when developing their own.
And, oh, sorry, Bruce is ahead of me. Go ahead.
All right, Committee Member Olson.
Okay.
And then I'll go to Committee Member Weeks after.
Okay, good, thank you. I would like to see also a comparison as part of this report of the amount of money spent on motor vehicle improvements statewide as compared to the amount of money spent on bicycle and pedestrian improvements statewide, and also similar statistics for the MTC area and similar statistics for our Contra Costa County area. If in broad general, 10% increments, if you could, not to give a big assignment as to a bunch of research that you have to do, but seeing how bicycles fit into the funding picture is important. Thank you.
Committee member, actually, I go to committee member Weeks and then committee member Foster. So committee member Weeks.
Hi, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and skip it for today, but when we go into the, if there is going to be a group, maybe with Colin to discuss the presentation, I would like to be part of that and include updates from our specific area, but also stuff I've heard from our vendors, kind of global presence and things like that. Talk about that. Thanks.
All right, committee member Foster.
Hi, I was just wondering, I'm a new member, but I know there's that new law that's been passed, AB 46, a reduction of speed limits. I know we've been speaking about, bicycles at length and not much on pedestrians. So I would hope there's a discussion on the reduction of the speed limits because it would be safer for pedestrians. If there's anything that really drives me crazy, there's crosswalks on 35 miles an hour roads or streets. And we already know what the fatality percentage would be if somebody got hit at 35 miles an hour. So I wonder if that reduction of speed limit law will play into the Vision Zero plans for the county.
All right, thank you. Next, committee member Pinkham.
This is not necessarily a topic. I'd just like to ask our friends here from the county, has there been any inklings of a chance that we may be able to meet in person? I really dearly miss riding my bike to the meetings. I don't know if anything's going to happen that way, but things are lightening up a little bit, but I'd be happy to wear a mask at a meeting if we could do it in person. That'd be wonderful. I was complaining to a nurse practitioner of mine that I tired of seeing heads and no bodies, and she stood up. But I hope that's quite enough for us. But have you heard anything about possible change that way?
Jackie, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so this is an item that's going to be brought to our board in the month of February. So it's all really based upon, the motion on it and what goes with. There's two different assembly bills that came out. And so I'm not sure, what their thoughts are on it, but ultimately they're the deciding factor because we do currently have hybrid meetings for our board. So it may remain that the committees are going to remain how they are now because it also affects our quorum. So, there's all these things put into place. So you have to get like quorum count ahead of time. If you don't have a quorum, you may not be able to do the meeting in person if there's certain people virtual. So really it would be based on people having to come in. There want to be an option for you to be both virtual and in person. It would be all in person or it would be virtual. So there's all these things in these bills. Nothing is official yet. So you guys will definitely know ahead of time. So when the March meeting does come, you'll definitely be notified if it's an in-person meeting or if it's going to be virtual. But right now, it still remains the same way. And again, anything that changes, you'll be notified in advance.
It may be that hybrid meetings are going to be just like hybrid work, are going to be the standard way of SOP, operate. So.
Yeah, thank you for that update, Jackie. I guess we'll be on keep an eye out on those CCTA item in February and see if we have the March meeting in person. If we're having in person, I look forward to lunch again. So
yes, we'll let everybody know before the meeting.
All right.
I would just say I think that is why member Pinkham really wants to meet in person. I think it's really the lunch.
Those sandwiches that the county provides, wow, it's just, and chips, it's just fabulous, worth the trip.
Committee member Olson.
Yeah, I would like to point out there is a difference between the county and the CCTA, right? We voted in 1988 to tax ourselves 0.5% to put that money into transportation improvements. CCTA spends that money. okay, as opposed to the county, who has lots and lots of other responsibilities besides just transportation. And unfortunately, the county doesn't have a lot of money to spend on transportation. Just making the differentiation here. And I too love those sandwiches.
All right, thanks for the clarification, Community Member Olson. All right, any other final comments or suggestions for on this item or for the future meeting? All right, seeing none, go to the last item here, item 6, which is adjournment. So we will adjourn to our next regular meeting, which is proposed for March 27th.